We had about 100 people register as
Oh,
of early
beautiful.
this morning. So normally what we find is about 60, 65, 70% of them end up being able to actually come during the webinar, and the rest wait and either watch it streaming on Facebook or
Yes.
wait till we posted it. So
I think my hope is actually with the quality of your dialogues and the people you're calling in, you're really gathering beautiful material. You know,
Yes.
and this one, you're really gathering the different aspects of the perspectives. No, and each one is necessary. If we want to approach it integrally, we need. I was very happy that you had to sing it, poor people talking on the social development and money power and all of that. I haven't heard it, but I was just happy to see that you touching all subjects. You know, otherwise, what are we speaking about integration? No.
Sure, sure, absolutely. That's the
That's
idea.
what we're doing at the Oro University.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
are we are having 4 tracks of education. So the
You
art
have
and culture is.
this. Tell me, what are the 4 faculties remain in our university now?
No, the faculty means human being faculties.
Yes.
The
No,
mental,
I'm
vital, physical, and spiritual. Oh, we have
exactly.
8. We have 8. Oh, yeah, yeah. We have 8 different schools, but through all
8
that,
schools.
we have 8 schools.
Could I hear those schools? I would be very happy that you are spread of the schools.
School of Business, School of IT, School of Law, School of Design, School of Humanity and Art,
Mm,
School of Hospitality Management,
beautiful.
and we
Yeah,
introduced School of Science.
science. Beautiful. That's it. I mean, you have
Yeah,
the eightfold structure, no?
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
I think, the mother really was hoping of this
okay,
of this
we're live on Facebook at this point. So I'm just
good.
going to go ahead and stop my video and audio.
Sure.
And whenever you're ready, Vladimir, go
Okay, we
start
have
the
to
recording.
introduce you, a few words about you and this project, and then we will start. Yeah, it's 1 minute before the beginning of our timing.
It was mother's hope that she said we need the power and the manifesting power of America. And if there's a synthesis between the East and the West, that's the new creation. Nobody can do it alone. It's about the synthesis of humanity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the ideal of why HP is doing this project. Yes,
Mm.
bridging America with India. So 2
And
centers.
also bridging the established academia with the new academia.
Yeah.
What Haridas did in Chowdhury with the CIS. We need other institutes. We need field stations. We need research places, inquiry places. We don't know what is the new world. What is the supramental? How will it manifest? No?
Beautiful. Okay, we start. It's already 9 o'clock, and welcome to New Perspectives. It's a program designed to invite different researchers in different fields. And today we have with us Aurelio from Auroville, who is well known in his own designing his own instruments, his own musical grounds in Auroville, and nowadays even the campus, educational campus. And of course, we all know his project Svaram, where he has his musical rooms and these wonderful new instruments which are exploring different harmonics and different ways of being through the sound. And those of us who were in his healing room by the sound cannot forget that impression they had, that within some minutes, 5 minutes, you can be totally rested and healed, and your body all is kind of recharged with the energy, harmonized inner and outer being. So today I am very happy to invite him to present his project and his ideas on the development of future of the sound healing and music, his vision of how it could be developed in Auroville and in the world. and collaborating with us. Please, Aurelio, I give to you the microphone.
I'm welcoming everybody who is present at this moment. I'm feeling actually a moment I had this gratitude for all those people who are supporting the technology, even those people over the last decades who developed the technology, so that we are ushering us into a global civilization, that we can all be connected wherever we are, different climatic regions, different time zones and times of the day. Before we go into speaking, I wanted to invite you, because we will speak about sound and all its different layers and dimensions. I wanted to invite you to tune together. I just have this instrument in front of me with about 24 strings, and that diversity we are bringing here together in this virtual gathering. How in this diversity we all bring our own tones, we bring our own sounds, and I just wanted to invite, let's hum together, let's tune in that even physically in your home, generate some energy in your physical substance through humming. Let's bring our frequencies together. The last time together. It's a vast field we want to touch today. It's basically about that inner dimension of our existence, that which is behind the material life, the world as we know it, the subtle dimensions, the subconscious dimensions, maybe the superconscious dimensions, because all of them are an expression of nada. What drew me to come and to settle in India 30 years ago was that aspiration to explore the concept of Nada Brahman, that from the ancient Indian culture, it was conveyed to us, it's almost something which is trans-religious. It doesn't speak about different belief systems. Nada Brahman says there is this oneness, this unified being, the field, the presence, and this presence expresses itself in a multiplicity. There's an urge for Shiva. Shiva sits alone on the mountaintop and he wants to reflect himself. He wants to know himself. There is a kshoba, a movement of consciousness. Tapas is happening and creation is flowing forth from him. And the way how creation is flowing forth is through nada. As soon as something comes into movement, it is vibrating. Whatever vibrates has a certain frequency of vibration. So basically we talk between Nada Brahman, we speak about Shakti and Shiva and the Purusha and Prakriti in action. And I think that's why there's such an attraction nowadays into sound work and Nada yoga, because basically we can say it touches into the mystery, into the hidden part of creation. And that's an exploration. We have been maybe over the last 2000 years, as some of my teachers in Vienna, I was part of some study program, the worldwide only institute in harmonic science in Vienna, Austria. And basically what we were focusing there, that was like, I'm speaking 35 years ago, when I was a student there on university, it was, our teacher said, it's about opening the hearing sense. We have to learn, as in our human evolution, we have to refocus on the hearing, on receptivity, on a deeper perception. And maybe we know from the Vedas that we perceive sound, manifest sound has 4 levels. What you hear, what I'm speaking, the information I'm sharing with you, you hear in the domain of Vaikari. Vaikari is like the surface of the ocean. That's the sound, the tapped sound, the ahata sound, which is actually physical sound. Yeah, it meets a physical reality and has a resonance. But behind that layer of the physical audible sounds, we have subtler layers. Yeah? There is the layer of madhyama, which is in between that what we hear, and maybe the third layer would be pashyanti, the seeing, the luminous sound. That where sound, where the word, and where thinking, which are both, you could say, different layers of vibrations. The thinking process translates itself into speaking, translates itself into word and action and manifestation. So there are, in our perception, in our learning about the sound, the hidden domain of our creation, the mystery of our embodiment, we learn to be more receptive. Hearing is a sense of listening. We're tuning into something. And the beautiful thing is also when we work with music, for instance, one of the gifts of music is that we touch the non-verbal domain. We don't need to speak about it. We cannot explain our experience, how deeply we can be touched by a specific song or by some music. So what we thought, what we wanted to share with you, if Marco is ready, we have a beautiful team here behind the screen. We have a beautiful technical filmer and a sound engineer with us here, Marco and Varun. And I would like to invite you, just for 3 minutes, we prepared some sound meditation so that we can, how to say, shift from the hearing, from the understanding, the logical mind, and open a little bit the dreaming. So I'm inviting you, in case if you have earphones, that you can use your earphones. We're seeing the beautiful waves of the Bay of Bengal, just here off the coast of Pondicherry. There's even a little fishing boat out there in the midst of the waves. And I'm inviting you to open to deeper waves of listening. I soon will stop speaking, and we will hear some sounds of our environment, natural sounds, sounds of the instruments we are making, and those sounds tell a little bit of a story. And I'm inviting you that you come into a full body perception. Let the sound meet the cells of your body. Let the sound touch your substance. Just sit back, enjoy for a few minutes in a choiceless awareness, whatever is coming towards you through listening to the waves and vibrations of sounds. So naturally, listening brings us into a deeper inner perception, and it is clear that we're not only listening through our ears, we're perceiving the play of life, the energies of life through our whole body. We perceive it through our substance. And we've been, maybe in my school it was said that over the last 2000 years we were very predominantly visual development. The creation of the neocortex basically had to happen with the power of discernment, that we have all the different brain areas in the neocortex. Each one is taking care of specific areas, and it's so beautiful in our science how far we could proceed in the analysis of creation, but through it all we still haven't fathomed the ground of being, the deeper dimension of our being, of our embodiment, the meaning of our existence here on planet Earth, and the task, or in whichever way we see it. And I think we're in a very special time where we're exploring those things. We had the help of the different religions over the last thousands of years, but we are in a very interesting transition in the evolution of human, the development, the changes, the cycles human civilizations is going through. And I feel very fortunate that here in Aurelio now since 30 years that I can really fully concentrate on the world of listening, on the world of sound, the knowledge of vibrations, and the application of that knowledge into for human well-being and communal harmony. Now, I just can touch in very briefly. So when we are impressed by this diversity and multiplicity of sounds, how can we have a clear discernment in that inner world, in that more subtle world of the listening? In seeing, we can very clearly focus on something. We can measure the space. How can we find orientation in the listening? And this is basically where harmonic science is coming in the Western tradition. 2,500 years ago, we were also in one of those access times, in a change from the intuitive, mystic age into the rational age, possibly with the Greek culture. And there was Pythagoras as a scholar, scientist, and mystic, who basically said in this magic, in this myriad, in this diversity of music, there's a very clear order there. In that fullness of sound, in some places, there's a hidden structure in music. There are sounds hidden, and those sounds which are hidden in that ocean of sound, those frequencies, they are in very specific places, in proportional places, at the half of the string, at the third of the string, a fourth. So basically in music, hidden in that ocean of music, in the movement of nada, there's a very clear underlying structure of the harmonic series. The harmonic series basically speaks about the principles of oneness, of halving, the duality, the trinity, the fourth part, the fifth overtone. And so basically with music we have a means of, in a deeper way, of learning about the quality of the numbers. In our materialistic society we're using numbers mostly for measuring quantities, but each number is basically a principle of life, a principle of creation, and through music actually we can learn to listen to them. We're doing it anyway when we listen to the music we love. Music is a dance of structure and freedom, possibly. So we say in a musical production, we bring together the feminine and the male, the rational and the intuitive, the fantasy and the very minute scientific discernment. So that's about the background. That's the field in which we are working. Specifically, almost to a surprise to myself, we're working in Svaram almost with a team of 50 people in creating ancient, original world music instruments and some new instrument sources, in which basically our research, the research we're doing on the ancient scriptures, on the Shastras, on mathematics and acoustics, that work which we are undertaking in teams of young professionals, we can translate and create new music instruments. And it's very interesting. The science of music instruments is called organology. It's the knowledge about the different instrumentations of of the human being, I said, because in the Shastras we were told that the instruments are emanations, they are manifestations of inner qualities of the Godhead. So each instrument family stands for a different category of perception, of knowledge, of relationship to reality. And it's very interesting. So we're creating, I think we're creating more than 100 different kinds of instruments and different classes of instruments. But where it's really exciting, as we are facing, for instance, if we look at the contemporary situation with the global crisis, very clearly that human culture and civilization is in a transition. So what would be the new instrumentations that we need that we can master the circumstances and the challenges we are facing nowadays? No? So I think in a similar way, we are looking for what are the new instruments. Yeah? For instance, this monochord, something like this was used by Pythagoras, maybe just one chord, and on one chord he explored the secret of music. But we bring in the creative part. So that instrument, it doesn't need any knowledge, it needs a capacity of relating to, and then I can approach it, I can play with it. I can play with it in different ways according to the talent and disposition of the person. And if I'm doing music, I'm in a dialogue. I'm relating. I'm in action. I'm offering something. And I'm in reception. So maybe this time of enforced lockdown, maybe actually it's a great opportunity for humanity that we've been running around, we've been in action over those last centuries in this, like almost in a frenzy for progress and development. I think there's no harm of sitting back and listening. What does it all mean? What do we need? What are the next steps? So from there actually the question comes into well-being. How we know that music has been in all traditional societies, always has been a source for education. It had to be a part of educating the youth, the young generation, preparing them for life, because in music we get in contact, we can play with creativity, we are practicing listening to ourselves, listening to each other, listening to the community, to the collective, listening to nature and creation. And then the mathematics were in it, the creativity, the craft work. So music was used in education, but also in all traditional societies, music was used for harmonization, for balancing our being, balancing our communities. And let's say if we speak about music and health, sound medicine, it said in the program, it's actually, yes, I love that double meaning of sound in English. Sound, actually, we speak about sound health. A sound health means a deep health, a health which is founded in a deeper domain. It's not only treating a symptomatic thing. And I think there's an important shift which the sound medicine brings in. We are looking not into a pathogenic perspective of what causes all the troubles. We are looking into a salutogenetic or genetic perspective and say what keeps us healthy. I think music has a very important function in preventive health. And if we surround ourselves with the right frequencies, with the right moods, if we take care not only of our physical nourishment, it's very important that we have good and healthy food, but that we also take care of the energetic nourishment we take to us, the emotional nourishment, yeah, and how we feeding ourselves mentally, yeah. So that's all about how can we sustain and maintain a healthy balance of the organism. And definitely it's clear, so we have those three layers, taking care of the physical, seeing that the vital can unfold and that the energies through the body can flow. We speak about conditions of dis-ease when the vital energies are actually blocked in the body. And there again, music can be an enormous help and assistant to bring the energies into flow again. And so the physical, the vital, and the mental. And then, of course, if those three come in balance, and there's a chance, there's a possibility that the spiritual, inspirational, intuitive domain can inform us. And not to forget, actually, I think now again, very much we see this in the present situation, the importance of the collective. We are a collective being. I think we have to recognize that we are this one humanity, as we were told from the old Indian scriptures, with the humanity is one big family. So the social domain of health. I think that's just about what I wanted to cover in this very brief introduction to our work. We have prepared a small film, just I think it's a 3-4 minutes clip showing the different aspects of what we're doing in Svaram and what we're in the process of planning and strategizing and preparing. We've been working here together now since 17 years. We have a beautiful recognition from United Nations as one of the first 50 projects worldwide who works under the initiative Music as a Global Resource, the importance of music to help us and support us on this journey to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And so we've been adopted years ago in this project. And in Svaram also we went a large journey from a social development, rural project into research. We were so fortunate of having young people from all over the world joining and professionals that we could really open studio research labs. And now we're on that verge. We see there's so much resonance and so many interesting and stimulating and exciting contacts globally with people in that field, in academia, in the healing field, in the therapeutic field, in the quantum science field, how it relates to healing. And we are basically planning this campus, a center for the craft, the arts, and the science of sound. To once again to touch that physical domain of sound, yeah, that vital artistic domain, and the intellectual knowledge domain, the science aspect of sound, and always the hope, if we approach that phenomenon of this deeper dimension of nada Brahman, if we touch it from all those domains, that we can contribute towards a possibly necessary harmonization of humanity. So I'm inviting you for this little clip, yeah, if Marco has it ready, just come on a journey, come with us through Svaram and enjoy the diversity of the activities which we are about, and look with us together into this future which we want to create, and which we actually also want to take the opportunity to invite you to participate in this future. Okay, I hope you had could have a good impression. We would need lots of time. There's so many domains. There's such a joy in the work. I'm so happy that Auroville is an incredible learning ground for 3,000 people of maybe more than 50 countries here. We really are invited to do research, and the city was created. The city, the earth, needs a cradle of the new being. I hope that in very small measures and in our humble contributions, we can actually offer ourselves for a better future for all of us together.
Thank you, Aurelio. It was wonderful. And of course, there are many questions here, and I hope you could also pick them up. I can also translate it for
Yeah,
you.
it would be good if you, because I will not see the questions, so maybe if you read them and maybe even give a little bit of your perspective and comment. I would love to hear from you, Vladimir. It was always so stimulating being in dialogues with you. And
Right. Yes, I hope we will have more opportunities to have a dialogue. There is a little echo coming up because of the feedback which is coming from the microphone. But yes.
it's okay. Our side, it's okay.
It's okay now. Yes, I can hear that. Thank you for fixing it. So there are several questions here, and many more to come. And from our Aurelians and from HP is the question: what kind of music is better for inner opening and development, which is somehow not showing up on the screen.
Shall I answer to that question from HP? Yeah. You know, there are many strong traditions, for instance, in India, when young women, young parents, they get pregnant, there's even a whole course of mantras, they should listen to it. But I'm always cautioning, I think, in sound medicine, we basically, the patient is first. We approach it like Ayurveda. There's no given recipe for all people. So there's not one music which works for everyone. It's usually that music which we feel drawn to. But of course, there's, and especially I think the key would be that music which was created for uplifting the human soul. That is a music, and not music which is produced for commercial profit making with different motivations. So I think that's a very important thing. And even if the famous composers of music created out of their suffering and of their traumatic conditions, but their aspiration was for harmony, and their aspiration was for the true and the good and the beautiful. And definitely we are very fortunate that in India we still have this classical Indian music tradition, which is comes from ancient roots, and that music it's a sacred music. It's performed basically for connecting in the verticality. It's not performed for achieving something in the horizontal field. And for you personally, I think you listen to that music which draws you. Sunil in the ashram, we call it the ashram music, but it can be any music which actually opens that inner portal. I think that's the most important thing. You know, it depends. For every individual, it's different. For every situation, it's different. When you have a challenge in your life and you need some energy, or you need to forget something, you go through grieving, then again you choose different music for it. And there are no recipes in the sound work. We have to be self-engaged and self-creative and responsible beings who learn to bring that in of life, those nourishments which we need and which we can share.
Wonderful. Thank you. There is also a question, could you please reflect a little more about the role of sound healing, emotional and psychological healing?
Yeah. Let's say the powerful thing of working with sound is that sound goes through all layers of the being. Yeah, and in our research, basically, we approach it. We take the premise from Ayurveda of the koshas, of the different layers of the basic being. There is the physical being there, the vital being is there, the mental being is there, the being of intuition, the seeing being, the truth being, and the layer of possibly of the delight of the embodiment. And so sound, when we work with sound, how to say, it works holistically, it works into the field. When people say, oh, which raga or which music is good for maybe for my liver problem, then I said, no, we are not, we have to think in a new paradigm. We're not treating specific symptoms. We're looking at the human organism as a field which is in itself individualized, hopefully, in ideal circumstances, but that field is influenced by the environment, by the EMF radiations, by the social environment, by the relationships, by the air quality and all of that. And there again, so let's say we approach it in that way, again, unique into every situation. And one important factor is that we trust the emergence of the process. Yeah. So even while I have maybe 30 years of experience and can say, oh, it looks like this, it moves into this direction, but there's always this openness. It's so we are not doing the healing, we are supporting the organism that it can recognize and come into trust in its own self-healing capacity.
So you have basically an Ayurvedic approach. You're just
Yes.
harmonizing and strengthening the body, which will heal itself when it is harmonized. Yeah.
Mm.
I must say that I had myself this experience on being in your healing room, and when all the vibrations are going and body is totally relaxed, then all these vibrations penetrate the cells and the cells start vibrating in unison. Then it gives us such a healing effect, immediate, not just later, but immediately. You feel rested, you feel centered. So it requires this kind of penetration or this massage of every vibration in every cell. And then they start vibrating in unison and you are healed. Healed for that moment of time. Of course, you will again face the world, face different... there is a question here very also important, the role of this, how to get out of this noise pollution. Would you say a few words about noise pollution?
Yeah.
What it does
I
to...
think now that we are waking up and practicing and training that sense and kind of like reharnessing the capacity of listening, of course we become very sensitive to the pollution of noise, and it's one of the strongest pollutions in the world after air pollution, water pollution, ground pollution, noise pollution. Yeah, even even if we go into a modern shopping center or into big office spaces, even if it's done maybe for a well-meaning purpose, that there's some background music in of that, but the chaos of it can be very draining to the system, no? And but as with everything, for instance, as we are challenged now with maybe a very strong impact of a new octave of EMF vibration with 5G, possibly unavoidably even coming onto us or already being on the planet in many different places, and maybe even, the crisis we are facing, it's part of the transition. We cannot withdraw into a victimized role and says, how can we handle it? We are stronger than it. The organism, we are an evolutionary being, and we are here to master and grow with all the challenges. So noise pollution, we have in our work, we have a separate section, we call it sonic activism, where it's all about creating and raising awareness of the sound environment in all different public domains, in hospitals, in wherever we go, in public offices. What's the noise? What's the sound environment? So we're very active, and actually they are also open for young people to participate in one of our domains, which we call ecoacoustics. Yeah, and that basically speaks about the impact. One part of it is sonic activism and raising the awareness of noise pollution.
So basically, what is pollution then? Pollution is like frequencies are not really in harmonies, now not in harmonic sequences, so to say, yes? They are overlapping and creating some kind of pollution.
Yeah, I think pollution in that sense, it's an overload to the system. When the system basically goes into a stress response, the system goes into a sympathetic response and cannot carry it anymore. And so then we don't even have the choice and the capacity of dealing with the circumstances. We can only work with this instrumentation. So I have two choices. I withdraw from that environment, which is unbearable. If I don't even have a choice because I have to work in that environment, then I can strengthen that system through inner practices. Yeah, if I have a good stretch in the morning, if I have sound practices, if I have my toning practice in the car to the work, then I strengthen my own auric system and I can sustain it wherever I would have to be.
Basically, what you say is quite interesting, a very different approach. Basically, you say that it's our incapacity to harmonize different frequencies, which is actually a pollution we define as pollution.
Yeah.
Because everything is fundamentally, we have to be capable of harmonizing all different frequencies.
Let's say there is in the yoga, how to say, we are open. We are speaking about integral yoga, an integral approach. We're open and wide for everything. But as part of the practice, I think it's also important, especially people who are spiritually minded, that we give ourselves the benefit of recognizing and acknowledging our boundaries and our edges. And also in the yoga, we speak about rejection. If this really doesn't work, I'm saying, no, up to here, this is my limit, this is how much I can integrate. And for me to stay healthy and in my harmony, actually, I have to reject this. So there's also no problem, actually. We have to reject the air pollution. Yeah, we have to reject the chemical components and the heavy metals in our food. We have to reject untenable political practices and stuff like this. Yeah, but I'm doing it within the field of my harmony. I'm not letting those adverse influences and disturbances and pollutions coming into my field. I'm maintaining that field in a preventive healthcare.
Mm-hmm. So I'm rejecting it kind of temporarily because I'm not yet capable to deal with
Yes.
it. Right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So there is another question related to this, what you are just answering. That is diversity of healing sounds question. It is true that 432 Hertz is a healing frequency, yes? 432 Hertz. Yet, does nature have diversity of frequencies? How come that these two things?
I think this is very important. I think what we're basically entering the sound world, we're entering a new paradigm of understanding reality and the nature of things. And we're understanding the reality through its organic principles, yeah, through rhythm, through cycles, through changes. In nature, everything is there. Yeah, nature doesn't exclude. Yeah, if there's something which basically threatens entropy is happening in nature, and nature deteriorates, but then nature is doing what it's doing at this moment with the COVID virus, no? It's a part of a RNA DNA structure which is helping the whole organism of the planet to retune, recalibrate its immune system. And because the immune system was severely impacted by the pollution and the exploitations which we created. Yeah. So there are many people in the sound healing field, they want recipes. And that means we are still applying the allopathic approach to health. Oh, there's this symptom and this frequency is working with this system. It doesn't work with it. We have to change our paradigm. There is a system, and in that system, I have to see how I approach it. And of course, as we have esoteric theories and we have conspiracy theories. So it's all games of the mind. What the sound paradigm is inviting us is actually we are on an evolutionary edge of humanity where we're opening into higher realms of the mind. And we were even told in Pondicherry by the mother, the new consciousness is a consciousness of the cells. That means we are entering a domain where we understand full-heartedly, full-bodily, right through the cells, through our organism. Our cells know. Those cells know through an evolutionary process, possibly of millions of years. And those cells, they are not counting the frequencies. Yeah, this is still this little narrow bandwidth of the logical mind, which wants to apply those rules and understandings of it. So I think there's a strong, of course, I can talk about 432 and 440. We can speak, we can make a seminar about it. Yeah, but I think what the invitation is there for intuition. The sound paradigm opens into a new space. It opens into a deeper perception, into an intuitive approach and understanding of life.
Basically, what I gather from you is quite interesting. A new thought, which comes to me, is that each frequency is needed for some particular action within the material formation, so to say. But being mixed and, how to say, misplaced, they are creating what we call the pollution. But if we find for every element in us that particular frequency which has to be harmonized with, then we are falling into the right space of harmonies.
Yeah. Imagine we are such a complex a configuration of frequencies. Talk about the symphony orchestra where you have 120 musicians there. How many millions and trillions of cells we have? And each one of the cell organs, conglomerations, they vibe in different frequencies, in different states during the day. That's the play of nada. This is the ocean of it. And I can stand now in front of the ocean and says, I wonder if this H2O is doing this and that, or I dip my fingers into it, my toes, and I go for a swim in it, and I experience the ocean and its saltiness and the power of the waves and the pulsations, these global pulsations I receive through the waves and all of that. So I think before we come to too early conclusions about what is it, we're at the very beginning of it. It's an ancient science. The shamans practiced it since 40,000 years. But I think now it's our time also to learn to experience it, to perceive it. And I would be very happy with Vladimir wants to have a separate dialogue on the Vedic paradigm of knowledge. Samjnana, Prajnana, Vijnana. And because we have a beautiful study group in Auroville, a small group. We call it sound, self, and space. And it's all about how we perceiving vibrations, and vibrations can be anything. It can be your thoughts, it can be the qualities of the day, it can be the room, it can be the furniture, the textures, the materials. Yeah, so it's a deep exploration in perception. And out of that, then we understand what is wholesome for us, what is nourishing. And then we apply it and create those instruments and those sounds which help us into this greater integration.
Beautiful. By the way, in your film, when you were showing the ocean waves, these were all instruments invented by you, created by you. All those particular noises, like water, like wind, all of them are interacting and creating that environment in which our body can rest or can find its own new harmonious space. It's all about finding the space for the body. That's beautiful. There is a question also about the language, basically. What is syllable? There is a question about Ram syllable. Is Rama the same as Ram in the Bija mantra, most probably? And what is equivalent Sanskrit word for syllable? Well, that, I can answer Aksharam. Yes, that is indestructible.
Aksharam, yeah. A very important question. I'm very happy whoever was asking this question. I think that's one passion, Vladimir, and we share together. And possibly also it was one realm in which Sri Aurobindo, he was loving to work and explore. In The Origin of Aryan Speech, you have this fantastic essay. I would recommend to look at it. At the core, let's say, so we are standing in front of this ocean of Nada Brahman. It's the Brahman, this one being, the Purusha, and Nada is the Shakti, the creation, unfolding her dance and her mystery and her magic. And we, of course, we have that urge to understand the ocean and understand the workings of the Shakti. Yeah, and it's the beautiful thing. I think we are also at this edge now where one hope for me is that possibly through this collaboration with our university and the Integral Life Center and Aurelio and those people who are open on that edge of a new paradigm, that we're really exploring this a new synthesis between the ancient knowledge systems and the new quantum field approaches to science. I think this is really, very important meeting ground. I'm not sure now if I answered the question. I was kind of like roaming a bit.
You were drawn to the scientific...
About syllable. Yeah, we talked about syllables. So what I wanted to say, what we do in harmonic sciences is kind of looking, there's this ocean of sound, and we apply our logical mind and says, here's a string, here's half of the string, here's a third of the string, here's a fourth of the string. So I'm applying my mathematical mind. What you mentioned about beaches, phonetics is another key of understanding and unraveling the world of vibration. And we are so fortunate that in Sanskrit, we have this very clear structure of the alphabet, of the matrika, of 49 possible places of articulations. And we are in another research explorations, we are working on something like what we call universal chant, universal language, universal music making. And phonetics is a very important part of it. That would be a separate, wonderful seminar with Vladimir together. And those people who are interested in linguistics and the origin of speech, and maybe possibly the future of speech. What is our common language on the planet as humanity? When we realize that we are one family, are we continuing to speak English? Or English is a very useful language of business and commerce and necessities. It's so beautiful how what the plastic flexible mold it is for all languages of the world. But maybe if we speak deeper things, maybe we will have to speak in Sanskrit or in other terms, because in one Sanskrit expression like Ram, there's so much of it. Because Sanskrit was there where Nama and Rupa and word and meaning were still united in one. And I don't want to continue to speak because this is really Vladimir's speciality. And I hope that we have a separate gathering just on linguistics.
Yes. I hope also we could continue this dialogue and look into the language and sound, because Sri Aurobindo speaks about this, that Vedic theory, Vedic vision was that the sound created not only the states of consciousness within ourselves, but also those vibrations which create our psychological states, act upon nature in such a way that they create the object of sense. So the objects of sense somehow are related to our psychological states. This is the same force, the same origin creates both the outer world and the inner world, the perception of the inner world. And here, of course, there is a huge new field for exploration for in the future.
And we can call it new perspective on communication, new perspective on language, no?
Right. Language and speech, yes, the word that knows, Sri Aurobindo says. There is a vibration which already knows. What does it mean, knows? Can identify with every object of sense oneself. It can harmonize oneself, appropriate the world, become the world. And that is the harmony, and that is the meaning of the sound.
Yeah, create the world, create a new world.
Right. There is also a question related to this. I'm just relating questions, trying to jump from one to another. How are mantras helpful in healing and centering us? Mantras. Can you say a few words?
Yes. At the origin of all creation and of the origin of all sounds is the voice. the Vak, the principle of the creative word. So I say even before mantras, what we definitely almost, I think it'll become an essential, practice of humanity. As yoga, Hatha yoga became so popular, I think if we want to sustain our energies and face the challenges we will have to face over the next decades, I think it's essential, and probably in education also important, that already children learn very early to harness the power and the quality of the natural voice through, first, I would say, through toning practice. And in the toning practice, traditionally, toning means you sing on an om and you sing for 1 year, let that om unfold, and let's see what's coming out of that seed of that om. And all the mantras will unfold from that. I think tonal practice, humming, I don't know, I just can state that one of my old friends and colleagues in the sound healing world, the pioneer Jonathan Goldman, had been pioneering the work over the last 50 years. Maybe the fruit of his life and the legacy is his book on the humming effect. The power and universality of humming, and what the potential it has for healing. You know, if we would spend kind of like study just the effect of hum and voice, if one practices it, you will gain kind of like skill in it and can apply it for yourself and for others. And what I wanted to say in mantra, we just had yesterday conversation here. Mantras are still enculturated domain. Yeah, I think in Auroville here in the yoga, we're looking for universal principles behind everything. And so I can adopt an Indian mantra because luckily it has been explored since 3,000 years. The rishis heard it, it's effective, and it's guaranteed, it's working and it's balanced and it doesn't have adverse effects and all of that if I use it correctly according to the Shastras. But we are very inspired because a mother has a very beautiful text, I don't know if you're familiar with it, Vladimir, where she describes that we all have a capacity, if we deepen our listening, that we find our own mantras, that we find those key words, those qualities, those, you can say, sonic signatures, which are important for us for specific purposes, for specific times, which can change because we change, we're in an evolutionary process. So I encourage actually the listener, if there's some exercise, it helps we step in the traditions. They chewed it before us. We can imitate it. We can repeat it. But we are there to become really authentic, interdependent beings, each one in our uniqueness, finding that unity that you explore through listening and tonal practicing, finding your own keywords which nourish you, energize you, bring you peace, bring you quietness. That would be a new breakthrough.
Yes, yes. So this is beautiful, actually. I remember this passage from the mother specifically, where she says there are words, mantras, which already accumulated power over time, over thousands of years. And when we repeat it, it acts upon us. Even if we don't want, it will act, because it has that, vibration over thousands of years. It lives there in Akasha, somewhere in space. But there is another approach, which is much more important, is to find your inner vibration of your inner soul, how soul would sound, what it needs in this moment of time, and to match with that vibration, that expression of sound which you found, that one word or one phrase which is actually absolutely necessary for your discovery and development. That is another power of mantra, which we also have to learn about. Beautiful. Right. There are several questions more here, of course, but mainly I think there's a humorous question from Shakti. Did you think about creating an instrument which could harmonize our Aurelians? And what instrument it could be?
Okay, no, I have an answer to it. I think we have the instrument created, and because all the instruments which we have, all the sound which we make, all the music which we are creating and listening to, they are actually only journeys and pathways into the silence, into the silence of unity, where the nada brings us back to the Brahman, to the one being, that one being which is in everything. And in Auroville, we have this, Mother was very clear, she said, it's built, the city of the dawn and of the future, it has a soul. It's a city with soul. We have to bring the soul back at the core and at the center of our life. And thanks God, actually, she focused still in her last year. She said, build the Madre Mandir. The foundation was laid and Madre Mandir is built. I think because we are not using it enough. If in the lockdown we had restrictions and all of that, even Madre Mandir was closed. That's a bit mad, no? When the sacred sites of humanity, we cannot access them, the mosques and the churches, that was a bit of a wild impact, So what's taking the place of it? Is it the screen? Or instead of sacred sites, is the screen becoming our sacred site? So what I'm saying to Shakti, I think in Auroville, if we could gather in silence in the gardens and in Madre Mandir, we would find that unity. Yeah. So silence is silence is the aim of all the instruments, but that silence which is not kind of like just stillness. It's a silence which is full with the mystery and the delight of creation.
Beautiful. By the way, it reminds me again in this approach from the sound view, from the vibrations, from the pollution, from different, frequencies which come together. Auroville is like everyone represents a particular frequency which is not matched with others, which creates this kind of, cacophony of sounds, but which also develops in us the capacity to tolerate and to find for each vibration its proper place, true place. It increases our capacity to deal with reality. And also, definitely the silence is the answer, because within the silence, all these vibrations find their home. And then it reminds me of your monochord. Do you remember we were playing with it? And if you put it straight, it will be like all the strings are the same. But if you shift and give each string different vibration, like 50 strings, then it gives this noise which is tearing you to the ground. It's very difficult to handle, but that is the sound, the active sound of silence in a way, of the depth of space, which we have to learn to tolerate and to perceive and to make our own. We have to widen the scope of our capacity in a way. These are interesting thoughts on social development, by the way, coming from the science of sound, and they are connected in our vision of, you remember, of approaches to knowledge, the social approach to knowledge and the sound harmonics are actually one and the same approach.
And there's an order in it. That's a thing. I think in music, the beautiful thing is also, it is a chaotic system. It unfolds in its own fractal way, how it multiplies and stuff, but there's an overlaying order, a cosmic order. I think that whole overmind structure, which holds the creation together in such a beautiful framework. Yeah, but we shouldn't be caught up in it. It's about, because Sri Aurobindo said, no, don't be preoccupied with all the beauty and the magic of it. We are actually here to open to that which wants to come and which brings something completely new for humanity.
Well, there are many more questions. Unfortunately, most probably we will not be able to cover all of them. Far from it looks like. About the humming, about sound sovereignty, about many more things. Chakras, vibrations in the chakras, healing. You partially answered it. Most probably, if you don't mind, if we can take a little more, like a few minutes, if you don't mind. So, since we have time. If not, then you may answer to these.
What would you see? Maybe what I can say generally, in which possibly, hopefully, can answer or offer a little bit an answer, and maybe even a teaser to many of those questions. As I said, actually, I think we're in a shift of paradigm. We are very clearly in a shift, and that brings a crisis for humanity. Hopefully, we are opening into an era of a global civilization that we realize we are together. We are as humanity. We are one species, one family, and we have to learn to share the resources, the limited resources we have, and we have to learn to take care of the environments if we want to have a sustainable future, that we can actually have environment in which our children can live in the future. And for all of that, as I'm saying, we're entering this new domain, and I want to encourage everybody to explore, to experiment. I can read, how many books will there be out on chakras and frequencies? And I can read another 10 of them, and then I maybe might sit confused on my table because each one says a different color and a different frequency, and which one is the correct one. Then we are still in this bandwidth of the logical mind. But as soon as I start practicing, as soon as I make a step into exploration, into the field, I get experiences. My cells, my being, my vital energies, and if my mind, if it's calm enough, they come into a holistic perception of the things, and I'm finding my truth. And there's so many, everybody proclaims a truth, every religion and every guru and every master and every sound healer, and with different motivations and different backgrounds, but the truth is within, it's inherent. Yeah? Sri Aurobindo in the synthesis at the beginning, when he speaks, he said that those few principles, the guru is there, even the guru, the teacher is inherent. We say with everybody who comes to us and learns and practices sound, the teacher is in the sound. Sound is unfolding, sound is drawing, sound is inviting. We have to give ourselves. We have to have that courage and submit our mental thinking and go into experience. And I think that's part of the rebalancing. We know everything on the planet, what we have to do and what's going wrong. We're not doing it because we are not perceiving it deeply and honestly and authentically. I like that there was one word in the question, sound sovereignty. Very important. But are we sovereign as human beings? Are we sovereign as a species? No. And yes, but if I'm listening and if I learn to perceive all different vibrations, then I become respectful. I'm listening to something else outside of myself. And if I'm respectful, I can honor and I can be compassionate. And then the world will look different.
Beautiful. That's harmonization of oneself with the environment, the world around us, with the human beings around us, with other beings around us. Yes. Thank you, Aurelio. It was wonderful to have you with us today and to talk on these wonderful and important topics which are usually never looked into directly. It's always implied, always kind of understood, but it is never kind of addressed directly and so vividly and wonderfully. Thank you for all your wisdom, for all your work you do, for all your research, and I hope we will meet again and will continue our exploration in this direction.
And as you saw at the end of the film, the invitation is there. We feel like we're in an unfolding adventure. There's lots of enthusiasm. There's lots of pragmatism. We have to be pragmatic, even in the lockdown crisis with our work. There are 130 people eating from the work which we are doing. It's a big responsibility, but it's just a very beautiful adventure of consciousness and joy. And we are inviting all those who feel called and who feel they have something to contribute, they want to participate, they want to support the work which we are doing in all those different fields. We are very happy to let that sound community grow.
And harmony grow between human beings.
I have Vladimir. Maybe we can finish. There's just an invocation from Savitri, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
From the three Madonnas, you know, where we face all the shadows of the world and all the difficulties. And it just says it's a well-wishing. And Savitri basically says to that Madonna, to that last Madonna, there shall be light and peace in all the worlds. And I'm not saying it, I'm saying it really from an inner, from an aspiration, and maybe from the conversation just to offer it. We are doing this work so that there will be light and peace in all the worlds, in all the worlds. I'm inviting you to tune in, even you can bring your voices together again. There shall be light and peace in all the worlds. There shall be light and peace in all the worlds. And the third time together. There shall be light and peace in all the worlds.
Thank you, Aurelio. Namaste.
Thank you very much. Beautiful.
Radhe. I hope it was okay for Rama. I was not speaking too fast.
HP is here. HP, you are muted. You have to unmute yourself in the corner.
Yeah, this excellent presentation. I learned a lot today how sound affects us and can be helpful in healing ourselves psychologically, physically. So it's a great, and we look forward to have another session with you.
Mm-hmm. My pleasure. I'm very happy. I'm very happy to see, so to say, the team and the family. I'm hope also that we have some time with Radhe to explore. I'm very curious on your perspective of academics and new academics and what we do in the Integral Life Center. I hope that it would be nice to build something up there. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We'll definitely stay connected here. I've got a list of comments and thoughts and questions that we can discuss when you have a chance. But lots of ways I think that we can collaborate going forward in a deeper way.
Yeah, let's do it. I think I had this talk yesterday with HP, and it's just my aspiration. If it's the right moment and the mother is blessing it, I think we're there on a verge of it. Maybe the 150th of Sri Aurobindo is coming, the 150th year, very important. And maybe, hopefully, we would manage, how to say, so our university, it's so beautifully grounded in the mainstream field. We have that anchor. At the same time, what you are doing is completely, it's new exploration, it's new perspectives. And Auroville has a very beautiful, very rich, it's a field station, it's a field learning, it's a campus for integral learning and practices and studies. And I think maybe now the different elements are there. I hope somehow with Mother's help, we can bring it together so that it can be effective for the benefit of the next generation and all those people of all ages who want to learn.
You know, Aurelia, after I talked to you, I felt like the next school we will start at the university is School of Music.
You already have the arts there, which is very important, arts and humanities. It's, it seems, I feel like actually, my teacher always said, listening will be so important for the future of humanity. If we spend all our past in the seeing, we have to bring that unity of the feminine and the masculine in. And let's see, in Australia, we had this visit, HB, you remember from Australia University, they have even a department, it's a department called the School of Creativity and Innovation. Something in that line. That's where music also feeds into it, but it's also entrepreneurial and all the aspects. So I hope actually, Pam would be the professor from University of Sydney, she was in Auroville many times. She was inspired by the integral approach. And her institute is one of the cutting edge institutes in the world. It's a multidisciplinary study of, I think they embrace 25 disciplines. So I think you have already touching into that through creating the Integral Life Center there at Surat, at our university. You have the academics and you have the Integral Life Center there. For the integral stuff.
Well, we are doing same thing in America, so except university campus, but eventually there will be some educational program at our campus in America also. In South Carolina. So
sure.
So great. Thank you so much sharing your experience. And I have participated in your music studio, and I was very impressed. So thank you. I wanted
to see Cameroon. I wanted to see our team members here. This very beautiful people. Cameroon. Marco, come. This is Varun. He's the composer, songwriter, doing amazing work, very dedicated work.
Very good.
And he's the tech man behind the scenes. This is Marco from Croatia. He's a newcomer. Both of them also kind of in a newcomer process. Vladimir and Rada, you got to know. We're very happy. We feel like actually it gave me trust and comfort because we are in Mother's blessings and we are her family, and we have to learn to collaborate and be together with all the power and the beauty and the strengths we have.
Without any questions. We are trying to, you are part of Auroville. We are trying to create something similar in a small way as a lab.
Yes. We need those labs. We need those labs for the future of humanity now. And Auroville, we have the benefit in Auroville, we know everything which went wrong the last 50 years. So we can learn from these mistakes and we don't have to repeat them. No?
I think we know what the goal is. We have to keep marching towards that.
Yeah. But the vision is there. And we are so lucky because we were given an amazing vision. We were giving a vision for the future of humanity. We are just very small instrumentations and we can contribute small steps to it, no? And we do it with all our heart and it will grow.